Hi, I'm Renee, and this is my entry for Live Lit. I apologize if it's a little long, so I'm just going to dive into it. It's called Boys, Gunpowder, and Espionage. I surveyed the room as I poked the mystery meat on my plate. In the back corner of the cafeteria, some guys were mixing hot sauce and pickle juice together, daring each other to take a sip of the vile concoction. At my 3 o'clock, another group of boys were passing a phone around the table, snickering about something scandalous on the screen. Looking through my peripheral vision, I caught a glimpse of a boy laughing so hard milk was oozing out of his nostrils, spewing all over the table. I rolled my eyes, disgusted that the future spies were sitting in this room. A sea of testosterone, and I was alone. None of them sat near me, scared they were going to catch something from the fact that I was a girl. I locked eyes with my brother across the room, but he quickly turned away from me. Even he wouldn't sit by me. The top half of my uniform was identical to theirs, a white button-up shirt with a collar and a burgundy tie, paired with a black and red sweater vest. I purposely asked for one a size too big, hiding my chest underneath the layers. I was doing everything possible for them to see beyond my gender, but it always seemed to pull me back. They insisted I wear a skirt. It was not proper for me to wear pants. It was one condition I could not negotiate. I spotted a potential threat approaching me. I think his name was Owen. His hands were shoved in his pocket as he strode across the room. He was trying to flex his muscles underneath his dress shirt. He sat down so close to me that I could feel his hot, heavy breath on my neck. "Do you need something?" I scooted away from him, but he followed. "I really admire what you're doing, being a girl and still wanting to become a spy." I gagged a little at the compliment rolled in an insult. Thanks, I guess. You can 007 me in the men's room anytime." His smile quickly turned into a smirk, and his hand grazed my thigh. I stood up swiftly, grabbing his dominant hand and pinning it behind his back, taking his other arm and bending it beyond the laws of physics. All of the boys jumped up from their plates to watch as he whined like a little baby, squirming to get at my grasp. "Real original. I think you stole that one from Toby. Or Brett. Oh, I think Jared used that one on me last Tuesday." I whispered this in his ear so only he could hear me. I felt large, sausage arms wrap around me, pulling me away from Owen before I tore out his throat. I kicked and screamed as I was dragged into the hallway. The arms pinned me against lockers, and those familiar blue eyes bore into mine. "What the hell, Em?" Damien looked exhausted. "Thanks for your help in there, bro," I said, slipping away from his slimy fingers. He continued to lecture me right on my heels. "I warned you not to come here, so don't look at me to rescue you every time your big fat mouth gets you into trouble." I scoffed, stopping dead in the hallway, causing him to knock into me. I stood on my tiptoes, making sure I was eye level with him. "Let's be clear. I don't need you or anyone else to rescue me, but it wouldn't hurt for my own damn brother to be on my side every once in a while." He looked away, staring at his shoes. "Look at me," I demanded in a calm tone. His hazy eyes met mine. "And for your information, he just propositioned me to give him a quickie in the restroom. So if you ask me, I should have tore his arm off and beat him with it." I looked around the hallway. We were only steps away from my locker. I grabbed him by the collar, pulling him along. He followed reluctantly, his heels dragging against the floor. I dialed my combination, my fingers flying. I grabbed the blue 3-ring binder wedged between my textbooks. I shoved it into his stomach. He grunted as the plastic pierced his gut. He flipped through the organized pages, staring at the laminated strips of paper with chicken scratch. What the hell am I looking at? This is every insult, come on, and threat I've received since I've been here, not including verbal ones. My voice cracked, but I pushed through. They put them on my locker, on my backpack, leave them on my seat in class, and even slip them under the door when I try to use the bathroom. Disgust and anger swirled around me, creating a dangerous storm of vengeance. He stood there, speechless. I struggled with every fiber of my being not to scream. "Please read them. You may even recognize some of the handwriting." The bell rang through the hallways, stinging my ears. They poured out of the cafeteria, moving on to the training room. He headed towards the trash bin. "What do you think you were doing?" "Throwing it away?" I shook my head. "It goes back in there." "Why would you want to keep these?" I remained silent, pointing firmly at my locker. He threw the binder on the ground, stomping away. He didn't understand. Throwing them away wouldn't make them disappear. Their hurtful words were burned into my brain. Staring at the binder gave me ammunition. It reminded me of how much harder I needed to work and push myself. I would do everything in my power to make sure they eat their words. I blinked a few times, not letting any tears escape. I adjusted my collar and followed the boys to class. Normally, we practiced sparring after lunch. No matter who I got paired with, I was always tossed around, flopping on the mats like a fish out of water. Bruises covered my back, up and down my spine. But with each fight, I lasted longer. I rubbed the calluses forming on my hands from hitting the punching bag over and over until my knuckles turned red. But the mats were rolled up today. All the boys were whispering to each other, purposely going around me. I ignored them, rolling my eyes so hard I saw spots for a couple of seconds. Eric was standing next to me. He never participated in the rumor mill. He stood straight with his shoulders back and feet slightly apart, carrying his usual serious expression on his face. I leaned into him and whispered, "Do you know what was going on?" He didn't say a word, letting the silence fill the space between us. Finally, he muttered one word that shot a bolt of fear and excitement through my body, making my knees weak. Guns. I swallowed, a big lump sticking in my throat. I never shot one. I couldn't fill out another thing. I refused to give them another reason to hate me, count me out of the race, and look down on me. They led us to the shooting range in the fields behind the school. We followed the instructor, marching one by one. My brother marched in front of me, not saying a word. I get it. I know he must have gotten a lot of shit for me being here, but I am his sister, and if he thinks he has a hard time, what does he imagine it is like for me? Or does he even care enough to stop and think about what I may be going through? We weren't always like this. I think he felt betrayed when I decided to pursue a career as a spy and attend the same academy as him. There weren't many institutions for girls in this field, and this institution was the best. I deserved the best, regardless of my biology. They called our names off one by one, in alphabetical order, handing each of us goggles, a pair of earplugs, ammo, and a pistol. Damien Reed. My brother strutted over, accepting the gun with ease. Emerson Reed. I breathed out and walked forward, extending my shaking hand out towards them. The gun felt foreign in between my fingers. I adjusted the goggles on my head and shoved in my earplugs, sang a silent prayer in my head. The instructor stood in front of all of us. I took out my earplugs, barely able to hear him. He fired off at rapid speed how to properly load and shoot our gun. One of the taller guys was in my way. By the time I squirmed and wiggled around him, the demonstration was over. They blew the whistle and everyone hustled, loading their guns. I stood there, unsure of what to do next. I looked around desperately and exchanged glances with Eric. My eyes were big and watery, wet with tears I was trying to hold back. I swallowed. He kept eye contact and unloaded his gun. Then he quickly loaded it again. He hit the button, injecting the magazine. He caught it in his hand, inserting ammunition one by one. Starting from the top, I matched his movements exactly. He reinserted the magazine and aimed the gun at the target. I mouthed the words, "Thank you." He gave me a slight nod, then turned away. The first guy pulled the trigger. The gunshot rang in my ears as the bullet soared through the air, attacking the target. It ripped a hole straight through, just left of the center of the target. It was a symphony of gunfire, one right after the other. The ringing created a strange melody. Even with the earplugs in, the sound rattled me, shaking my body with each bullet. I breathed in and out, in and out. I squared my shoulders, remembering every ounce of knowledge pounded into me in class. The gun felt strangely light in my hands. I aimed the gun, breathed out, wrapped my index finger around the trigger, and pulled. The bullet hurled through the air, knocking me back slightly. I regained my footing, looking at the target for my bullet, but the target was empty, unscathed. I missed. I shook it off, shooting again and again. I finally hit the target, but it was as far away from the center as possible, tearing the target at the top right corner. I put the safety on, slamming my gun down, huffing and puffing. The instructor shot a blink into the air, accompanied by a sharp blow of his shiny whistle, signaling that this training session was over. Everyone unloaded their guns and returned the items to the proper bins. Some took the targets with them, displaying it proudly, like a badge of honor. I sighed, my chest tight from the wrenching ache of disappointment. I glared at my target, praying it would burst into flames. "Reed, come on, let's go. Pack it up," my instructor's voice boomed. Would it be possible for me to hang back and practice for a little bit longer? "Sorry, Reed, I can't let you practice out here alone. I have a meeting to get to." I nodded slowly, hanging my head down low as I dragged my feet over to the bins. A voice appeared out of nowhere, making the hairs at the back of my neck stand up straight. "I can stay back and help." "Eric." My face flushed red as he spoke, unaware he was still around. Our instructor grunted, finally giving in. "Fine." He stomped away, leaving the two of us alone. "You don't have to stay." "I appreciate it, but," he chimed in, "I really don't mind." I felt stuck. I needed the practice. I didn't want an audience for this. I aimed my gun and felt his warm breath against my neck. He smelled like peppermint and cologne. "May I?" he asked. I nodded slightly, and he placed One hand on my shoulder and the other on my waist. He talked me through it, adjusting my body. Now try it. Visualize where you want the bullet to go. I pulled the trigger, letting it cut through the air and hit the target. It was not dead center, but it was pretty damn close, only a few inches to the left. A huge smile spread across my face. Again. A couple rounds later, I'd finally hit the target. The smell of gunpowder surrounded us, and my nostrils were burnt out, numb to the sensation of it. I put everything away, still carrying a slight smile on my face, beaming with pride. "Thank you," I said softly. "You weren't as bad as you think. Most of the guys here have done this before. The first time, they probably never even nicked the target. The first time I ever shot a gun, I was about 8 years old in my backyard. The recoil of the gun caught me off guard, and I had a bruise on my cheek for weeks from the force of it knocking me back. I laughed at the thought of it. Somehow I cannot picture that. And thanks. I really needed to hear that. Ignore them. They are all dicks. They're just jealous." My mouth dropped open at his comment. I wasn't expecting it, for him to trash his own. "They don't have anything to be jealous of," I joked. "I'm drowning here." "Not from what I see." He stepped closer to me. "For someone your size and strength, you hold your own in combat. And you wipe the floor with everyone in intelligence training. Half these boys are coasting on their pedigrees, and they don't have the skills you do to back it up." It was odd receiving compliments. I felt awkward and flustered, unsure of what to do with my body. At that moment, I kept crossing and uncrossing my arms. Before I could wrap my brain around it, I realized I was leaning in towards him, and he followed suit. We stopped when we were just millimeters apart from each other, breathing in the same air. I closed my eyes, breathing in the intoxicating smell of him one last time before I finally pulled away, before our lips touched. He did the same, walking away and back to the main building. I ran my hands through my hair and kicked the bins with the goggles in it, sending a flash of pain through my body. So stupid, I told myself. What if someone saw? The rumors would spread faster than a rash, blanketing the halls and killing any credibility I'd left. I couldn't throw it all away on a halfway decent boy just because he was nice to me. I did a few laps around the grounds, trying to clear my head, but every time I thought I was fine, the feeling of his touch flooded my body, making my heart race. I ran in circles until it was nightfall, and the memory of his hands on my body faded underneath the clusters of stars. Thank you for listening.